Tonight, our special transmission as pro-Palestinian voices have been denied an opportunity to speak at the Democratic National Convention in Chicago. Assalamu alaikum and good evening. This is Muslim News Canada on Muslim Network TV. I'm Zahra Sayed. Today is the 323rd day since Israel started targeting Palestinians indiscriminately. Israeli airstrikes have intensified in Gaza. The renewed offensive today has killed 12 Palestinians. A targeted attack on a vehicle in Khan Yunis has killed 4 people. A strike on a residential home in Nusayrat refugee camp has killed several civilians. In southern Gaza, an Israeli strike on Abasan al-Kabira has resulted in the deaths of 3 Palestinians, including a child. Israel says its warplanes hit more than 30 targets yesterday. It says the troops are engaged with numerous fighters across the enclave. Israel has released over 40 Palestinian detainees. Palestinians Prisoners of Society says the former detainees report of severe abuse during captivity. The United Nations Refugee Agency says it will begin polio vaccinations for the children in Gaza at the end of this month. The Israeli military says it has lost 995 soldiers since October 7th. And 10,000 soldiers have been injured. Hezbollah rockets have targeted an Israeli Air Force facility. In response, new Israeli strikes have struck southern Lebanon. The death toll from Israel's war is alarming. At least 40,265 Palestinians have been killed in the past 10 months. 93,144 are injured. A report in the British medical journal The Lancet estimates that the death toll from Israel's war could exceed 186,000. Israel faces accusations of genocide at the International Court of Justice. The top court has ordered Israel to halt its military operations. Palestine's United Nations envoy Riyad Mansour is calling for an urgent ceasefire in Gaza. He calls the situation a humanitarian catastrophe. Mansour made the comments at a Security Council session where he criticized the ongoing Israeli assault. Mansour says the destruction of essential services is leading to famine and diseases. He accuses the Israeli government of prioritizing violence over the welfare of its own citizens. He is demanding that the UN members act decisively to restore life in Gaza. Mansour also questioned why President Biden's call for daily humanitarian aid had still not been acted on. Israel's new UN envoy dismissed Mansour's plea. He called Mansour a terrorist in a suit. Israel's internal security service Shin Bet has cautioned that escalating attacks by illegal Israeli settlers in the West Bank could trigger a national security crisis. Director Ronan Bar has sent a message to Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Bar says the danger of rising settler violence is leading to widespread conflict and a breakdown of national security. Opposition leader Yair Lapid says Bar's warning is a final alert. Lapid is calling for the removal of National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir, accusing him of ignoring settler violence. Israeli military officials have also voiced concern over the surge in settler attacks and a drop in police enforcement. This comes amid a recent International Court of Justice ruling declaring West Bank settlements illegal. On July 19th, the top court demanded the evacuation of all existing settlements in the West Bank and East Jerusalem. At least 640 Palestinians have been killed in the occupied West Bank since October 7th. Over 5,400 have been injured. Iran and Hezbollah remain on edge as they weigh their response to Israel's recent assassinations of key figures Ismail Haniyeh and Fuad Shukr. 3 weeks have passed since the assassinations of the top officials. Both Tehran and Hezbollah appear to be searching for strategic ways to retaliate without igniting a broader conflict. Iranian officials suggest that their response will be unique and not a mere repetition of past actions. The delay in retaliation reflects Iran's dire strategic choices and concerns over potential escalations. Free Palestinian delegates have been denied the opportunity to speak about Gaza at the Democratic National Convention in Chicago. This comes as the pro-Israel voices have been prominently featured. John Pollan and Rachel Goldberg, whose son was taken prisoner by Hamas, spoke to the crowd. Uncommitted delegates requested a speaker to address Gaza's devastation. These delegates have withheld support from Vice President Kamala Harris due to her strong backing of Israel. The request was denied without explanation. The decision has sparked outrage. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez condemns the decision. She says there is an urgent need to highlight the plight of Palestinians. Free Palestinian delegates staged a sit-in protest and urged the Democratic National Convention to reconsider and include Palestinian voices. They say denying pro-Palestinian voices a platform is an affront to shared humanity. A report says that countries supplying oil to Israel could be complicit in war crimes. Figures by the Oil Change International reveal nearly half of the crude oil exports to Israel occurred after a ruling by the International Court of Justice in January. The ruling had called for an end to Israel's actions in Gaza and warned allies of potential genocide charges. The report tracks 65 shipments from October to July. The shipments totaled 4.1 million tons of crude oil. Significant contributors include the United States, Azerbaijan, Italy, and Brazil. The U.S. has exported 80% of its oil since the ruling. The report highlights that major fossil fuel companies, including BP and Chevron, are key players in these shipments. The findings suggest that continued support could implicate these countries and companies in war crimes. The report also found an increase in African supplies. Gabon remains the primary crude oil supplier to Israel. The shipments are now also arriving from Nigeria and the Republic of Congo. Global News Canada has reportedly refused to air 2 critical interviews related to Israel's actions in Palestine. The interviews were conducted by former anchor Farah Nasser, who left Global News at the end of June. The interviews included a heated discussion with Israel's ambassador to Canada and a segment with Nelson Mandela's great-grandson, Siabulela Mandela. These interviews were recorded and posted online. However, they were not featured on Global's flagship broadcast, Global National. Sources claim the censorship reflects concerns over backlash from pro-Israel groups. Global's parent company, Chorus Entertainment, denies any such pressure. It cites editorial standards as the reason for not broadcasting the interviews. Critics argue that such decisions undermine media integrity and transparency. Jason Toney, the Director of Media Advocacy at Canadians for Justice and Peace in the Middle East, condemns Global's decision. A former employee says Global managers also censored the content that journalists shared on their social media accounts. Thank you for watching. Our news is produced by Muslim Network TV, which is a non-profit organization. We need your support for donations. Please scan the QR code on our broadcast or visit muslimnetwork.tv to donate now, so we can continue to amplify the voices of Muslims in Canada and abroad. Assalamu alaikum.